Is this working? Oh, hello everyone. Welcome back to the stream. I don't know if that wasn't working or if the meter in OBS was bugged, but I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah, so today we're going to be working on adding some new enchantments to the game. So this is just part of a recent effort, I guess, to create some more content for the game. So yeah, the enchantments haven't been expanded much at all since I last worked on it, which was probably months ago. So we're going to see if we could add several new enchantments, at least maybe a couple of interesting ones, and that will be what we'll do on the stream. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone that Alchemortis is available for wishlisting. It's a dark fantasy roguelite inventory management auto battler. So check that out if you're interested. Wishlist it if you want. That would help me out a lot. You can also head on over to the Patreon and support me financially. This top sponsored tier here, if you subscribe for at least 1 month, I'll send you an Alchemortis Steam key when the game launches. So it's like a pre-purchase, and you will also get your name listed in the in-game Alchemortis credits. So if that sounds interesting to you, definitely check it out, and it would also help me out a lot. And you can also support me by purchasing one of my Udemy courses. These are these will teach you how to build a complete game in the Godot engine. So anyway, all those links are in the description. You can also join the Discord. That's totally free, and everything's linked below, like I said. All right. Hello, RN Genesis. Welcome back. Good to see you. I may have missed it. When is the next playtest planned for? I don't really have a plan for it. I think ideally, maybe in like end of January or something. But I can't say for sure. It's mostly just we're going vibes based for the next playtest whenever I feel. I mean, I do have a goal of getting through this to-do list before the next playtest. But it's possible that this to-do list may change, like things may be added or removed. So that's why I say it's kind of like vibes based. But if nothing much else gets added here, then the next playtest will be whenever this is done. These things are done. So yeah, but not too far away. Okay, hi Cat. Hi. So yeah, let's think of some new enchantments to add. So I actually need to refamiliarize myself with the enchantment system. Already purchased your Udemy course. Hello, Kipper Falcon. And also welcome RN Genesis. I don't know if I said a welcome to you. It's very helpful. The only concern I have is that you explain too fast, but so far so good. Thanks much for your knowledge. Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, if the course seemed a little fast, I would also remind you that it is more of like an intermediate course. But if I still talk too fast for that level, then I'm sorry. Are you planning on going to any events to promote the game? No, I don't have anything planned at the moment. I'm not going to like GDC or anything. Hello, Zachary. Welcome. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. All right, so where are my enchants? So I've got a base enchant. And I've got convert damage to shield, poison, fire mist chance debuff. Interesting. Get composed abilities. Okay. I don't even know what's going on here. So these are all my enchants. They extend a base enchant, and they have descriptions, and they can do things like give the card abilities. They can modify ability magnitude. Did I have some kind of... Let's see. Modify ability magnitude. To do rework this to use the new I ability modifier. I ability modifier. There's a to-do here that I might want to address. Oops. Where is this even used though? Convert shield to fire. I ability modifier. Interesting. Get explanations. Where is this? Anyway, there's a lot going on here. So this I ability modifier, I don't know what my intention was with that to do. The I ability modifier is used to convert things. Oh, I see. I see. What I probably want to do is I see. Convert damage to shield. What I want to do in here, instead of doing this modify ability magnitude, is I want to so this is named wrong. Convert damage to shield. Let's rename this to convert damage to shield enchant. And then I also need to rename it here. Convert damage to shield. Rename enchant. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new convert damage to shield in my abilities here. Here, new file, convert damage to shield. Okay, this is going to basically copy this, convert damage to shield. Ability explanations, damage and shield. Modify ability magnitude. If ability magnitude is damage, we're going to return new shield damage get magnitude. I think that's right. Cool. So if I just do that, then what I can do is in my convert damage to shield enchant, what I can do instead is I can do public override void. No. Get composed abilities. Base composed ability, get composed abilities. var, no. Public convert damage to shield enchant. Private read only. Composed ability. Oh, I guess I could just do... No. Composed ability. I guess I don't need to do this. Equals new. Okay, I think that's all I need to do. Abilities, scaling function. Yeah, there's no scaling function. So this composed ability here, I'll just return composed ability. And then I can get rid of this modify ability magnitude wherever this is used. This might be used in multiple places, actually. Oh, no, it's not. Okay, so we're going to get rid of this out of the base enchant now. And then we can remove it here. And now we've converted that entirely to an ability. So we've kind of like removed some duplicate functionality. And now I don't need this, I don't need this whole section here. Now modify ability magnitude is something different, but we'll get rid of that. So that's a lot cleaner. So that was just, that was basically just an attempt to dry up the code. I had some kind of duplicate functionality between changing abilities on a card with the ability system and changing abilities on a card with the enchant system. And it's generally not a good idea to maintain parallel systems that do the same thing. So shoving the functionality back into one system to get rid of that duplication is less bug prone and also just makes more sense. It's cleaner. Do I need to do this get description now? I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Reduce the playback speed to follow along easier to help me. Yeah, I've got some students that watch on like 2x speed and then some students that reduce the speed. It's kind of funny. I have a quick question. I'm prototyping some ideas that I have, and I don't know if it's a good idea to write GDD at this point. Do you think it's kind of useless for small projects? I do not like game design documents at all, at least not for solo development. And I've said this before, but the reason is because I just don't like documentation for solo projects, generally speaking. The only documentation I use is basically just writing down the tasks that I need to accomplish, but I don't document the code and I don't document the game design. And the reason I don't do those things is because you could sit down and write a game design document and that's not going to be the final document. It's kind of an exercise in futility because you can't really plan. I mean, I can't really speak universally, but for me, I can't plan a game up front on paper. What I have to do is come up with like a central mechanic and then prototype it several times. Like even this game, Alchemortis, if you've been watching for a while, the amount of times that fundamental aspects of the game have changed during this, 8-month development cycle here, I would have had to rewrite the game design document like 6 times. But then in that case, I would just be rewriting the game design document to reflect what I already built in the game. So it's kind of like, why would I be making a document that describes everything that I just made, right? And you can't do prototyping on paper. I can't just sit down with an empty Word document and like do a bunch of prototyping. So a game design document ends up being kind of like just useless for solo development, in my experience. Anyway, so what am I doing? Convert damage to shield enchant. Oh, I should probably test that, I suppose. Run manager. Let's go ahead and do populate player cards. Card.add enchant. New convert damage to shield enchant. Let's see what that does. And we'll just make sure to give myself test player cards. Well, we already have some damaging things there, so we're good. Honey, good boy. No suitable method to override. Oh, I forgot to do this poison enchant. All poison applied is increased by 1. Modify ability magnitude. Oh. Oh. Oh, I see. Well, that's a little bit. So I need to change this one too. This one is different though because it's not. Yeah, this is a little bit different. I need to make this an ability as well. I'm trying to figure out if I want to make it a generic kind of ability. Ability. Well, I wonder if I could. Maybe I could make these generic. I might try that. Let's see if we can further genericize this. So if I do, let's do ability magnitude modifier .cs, ability magnitude modifier. Okay, we're gonna take. I'm just gonna copy this, paste this here. Ability magnitude modifier. Okay, get explanations. That's going to be a problem. Is it going to be a problem though? Get explanations. Let's do, maybe I'll do this. Let's do a func that returns I ability magnitude as the modifier func, and then we will do func ability explanation func. We'll set that to null by default. For get explanations, we'll do this. Return explanation func dot invoke or empty array. And then for the modifier func, we'll just do return modifier func, like so. We'll get rid of this. So now I've genericized this. So the way that I would use that in the case of the poison enchant, I think what I would do here is I would do private read-only composed ability. Composed ability is equal to new. We are going to return, let's do var poison modifier is equal to new ability magnitude modifier. We're going to do, oh, this needs to take, so I'm not quite done with this. This ability magnitude modifier, it needs to take an argument, which is the I ability magnitude here. And then I need to pass that in there. And then in here, we need a ability magnitude. We'll copy this here. Don't do this to me. Okay. And then we return ability explanations poison. That works. I don't know. I guess that's fine. Okay, so this is genericized now. And then abilities here, we could just put the poison modifier in there. Scaling function, there's no scaling function associated with this because none of the enchants scale. All poison applied is increased by 1. I don't know if this second description is actually necessary. I think it is actually, but that's all right. I wonder if I could do return poison modifier, or no, composed ability, get description. I could do that instead. So I don't need to duplicate that. And then what? This modify ability magnitude can go away. I think that will work. I don't know. We'll see. So I actually don't need this now. I could make that generic. Converts all damage dealt to preserve. So what I could do in here, instead of doing new convert damage to shield, I could do var, nope, I'm doing this in the wrong spot. Var ability modifier is equal to new ability magnitude modifier. If ability magnitude is damage, return shield damage get magnitude. Return the damage shield explanations. And then in here we could do the ability modifier. Converts all damage dealt to preserve. Converts all, yeah. Damage dealt to preserve. And that's it. So now I don't need that convert damage to shield anymore. So we can remove that, convert damage to shield, delete, goodbye. And then let's also do the convert shield to fire. Convert shield to fire, we'll copy this. Where is this used? Dragon scales. var ability magnitude modifier is equal to this. Paste that. We want to do shield, fire, ability magnitude modifier there. New alchemy added ability. Okay, I think that's it. So we can get rid of that convert shield to fire now. So now we have properly genericized that. Okay. Convert damage to shield enchant. All right. Let's see. Let's just see if this all works. Hello, Volky developer. Do you agree? If you want to be able to use Godot well, then you get used to using Godot. So because of that, just create your game and with Learn Godot. Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like anything else. If you want to use Godot, you're gonna have to learn it. Like you have to practice with it. It's like anything. Practice makes perfect, right? The cliche. But yeah, I mean, the only way to become proficient with Godot or any other tool is to use it a bunch. So yeah, but I don't know if I misunderstand what you're asking. Is that Godot with add-ons or another software? I'm using VS Code for the IDE, and then Godot, the only thing I've changed really here is just the theme of the engine. So yeah, no add-ons. Hello, Nicholas Dev, welcome. Rin, welcome back. Christmas and New Year's double cheeseburger. Thank you so much for the Australian $20. Very much appreciate that. That's very, very generous. Merry Christmas to you as well, and I hope you have a happy New Year. Hope you're doing well, and always great to see you on the stream. So, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Hello, Ninja Link, welcome, good morning. Okay, so let's see here. So this is enchanted, converts all damage dealt to preserve. This is enchanted. So let's just try it with the scarab here, and we'll see if that scarab applies shield now. I think it should work, but you never know with these things. You never know. That is working. Scarab applied to preserve. Scarab applied. Oh, it's only applying. Oh. Damage increases by 1 each execution. Why is that not working now? The scarab. Oh. Oh. Did this get bricked? So the scarab, if it has this enchant, it actually, this ability breaks. Okay. Well, we're going to have to check that out. We are going to have to check that out. Let's see why that's happening. Scarab, execution count provider, execution. Oh. So I know why this isn't happening. This execution count provider is counting the number of executions of this damage ability. It's getting the damage of that ability. However, what's happening? Oh, this is bad. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to fix this. So what's happening here is that the executing ability is a magnitude ability, so damage. For all the modifier abilities, we're doing modify ability magnitude. What this is doing is this is returning a new ability, a brand new ability. Shoot, this is gonna be not good. So what's happening if I do convert damage to shield is this is receiving the damage. So this ability magnitude ends up being that damage ability. So we check that here. And it's returning a brand new ability here. Otherwise, it's returning a reference to the other one. So because it's returning a brand new ability here, this executing ability changes and the damage is never executed. The damage is never executed. So so here's the question. do I want to skip executing that ability, or do I want to do something like... So this damage ultimately doesn't get executed here because it ends up being changed. I suppose what I could do... Does the execution count provider need to be on the damage ability, or can it be on execution count provider? I wonder if this execution count provider can listen instead for the dynamic damage ability. Oh, and then we're going to need to growth value scaler. Let's put it here. Oh, wait a minute. Right. The execution count provider has to listen for this one so that it can scale that one. So I can't actually do that. One option is to... So I think one option would be to say, if this executing ability ends up being different than this modifier here, or no, ends up being, so if the executing ability here ends up being reassigned, then take the old value and execute it with just a magnitude of 0 so it doesn't do anything. But that should still log. Will that log an entry? I don't think it will, actually. Shoot, I've got some problems here. I've got some problems. Turn history. Or no, combat component. Combat. Combat. Board combat component. Okay, yeah, so the problem is track damage dealt. Oh, that's different than... Okay. I was getting my things mixed up. So if any ability gets executed with a magnitude of 0, it doesn't get tracked as damage. Or it doesn't get tracked, yeah, it doesn't get tracked in that damage history. But does it get tracked in the ability execution? It will. So even if an ability executes with a 0 magnitude, it will still get tracked as an ability execution. So that's good. So really the main problem here is I actually need to track the ability execution. Oh, but here's another thing. Notify ability executed. What do I want to do about this? Notify ability executed. Oh, that's fine. That's fine. Track ability execution. What does this end up being? Turn history entry. Turn manager. On ability execution tracked. Oh, I see. I'm trying to think of what I want to do here. Get all, oh yeah, ability execution listener. So there's a couple of things happening here. What is this used for? Ability type tracker provider. Okay, yeah, I mean, ability type tracker provider. Custom filter card has ability of type. On ability executed. Okay. So what do I do about this? What kind of trouble are we getting ourselves into today? We're adding some new enchants. So far, I haven't actually added a new enchant because I've found several problems that needed to be addressed. And now there's a bug here where, yeah, it's I don't think it's working as expected. I don't think it's working as expected. There's a number of solutions to the problem that I'm facing right now, but none of the solutions... All the solutions that I'm thinking of right now are kind of, they have the potential to create unintended side effects. So I'm trying to think of a way to actually fix this. And I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I was doing okay until Christmas Eve when the ambulance bringing me home from the hospital got hit by a drunk driver. Glad I didn't see it coming. Oh, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. Got taken straight back to the hospital by another ambulance, finally home now. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you're okay. That is, yeah, that is very unfortunate. So... sometimes I just have to accept that my solutions might have side effects. Yeah, I mean, I think everything's a trade-off, right? Like like I can't re-architect this ability system to fix this one minor issue. And sometimes, unideal or unideal code, however you say it, is acceptable. Everything's a trade-off. The problem is I have to be extra cautious with this system because this is what drives basically the entirety of the combat. And so I have to think very carefully about when I do things. So basically, yeah, I need this execution count provider on this damage ability. However, if this damage ability ever gets converted to some other kind of damage or some other kind of status, it never executes. And so this execution count provider is actually never running. Or it's never ticking up because this ability is never executing, which is not accurate. So one thing I could do now, here's a thing. Where is this actually used? So I've got 3 solutions in mind. One solution is to, in the base card here, like I said, if this executing ability gets reassigned as a result of this modify ability magnitude, then what I can do is take the old executing ability and just track an ability execution for it, even if I don't actually execute it. So that would be one thing to do. Sorry. Damage taken provider. Okay. So that's one solution. Another solution would be to just create like a dummy ability that is basically just going to keep track of the count of how many times that ability is executed and put that sort of out of reach of any system that could modify it. And then the third solution is kind of a modification of that idea, which is to make this execution count provider not have to accept a target ability that's listening for, in which case it could just track its own execution counts. So if I made this nullable here, or made this null by default, then what I could do is I could say target ability or this. And so it would track its own execution counts. So in other words, this execution count provider could become just a dummy placeholder where it just tracks itself executions, or it can listen for the number of executions of a specific ability. I kind of like that solution. However, the problem is that it doesn't fundamentally fix the problem in the case that I do need to listen for another ability. So for instance, in this Iron Maiden here, well, maybe that wouldn't be a problem. So let's just say, for instance, in this road sign here, let's just say that the heal was conditional, right? But I needed to track how many times that heal ability was done. So if it's only, let's say the heal only happens every other turn, then my idea for making the execution count provider just a dummy count provider is not great. I guess what I could do in that situation, though, is I could just make the execution count provider have the same conditionals as whatever it's tracking. But then I kind of have to build a parallel system, or not parallel system, but parallel conditional functionality to listen for that. Honestly, maybe that would be the way to go. I almost wonder if I should get rid of this. Does this need to listen for the ability? Or like, I don't know if I even necessarily need to listen for an ability. Like, I don't know if I need the execution count of this specific ability. This could just track its own executions, and then I could just wrap it in whatever conditional values it needs to have. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Do I even need this? Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. Let's see. I left that message up for way too long. Okay, rework some enchantments. Well, we're going off on a tangent, but that's how these streams go. You never know what you're gonna get with game dev. Anyway, that is crazy. Yeah, the hospital ambulance stuff. Yeah, that is crazy. Welcome back, Nick Glenn, by the way. Good to see you. Courier games turn order stuff is so complicated. Yeah, I mean, it's not the problem. Yeah, I mean, I guess it is kind of like turn order stuff. It's not necessarily turn order stuff, though. It's just how my abilities interact with each other in the system. So I think I might change this board target. Is this never used? This is never used. So this shouldn't even be here. Oh, I guess it's because it extends eye ability execution listener. I actually don't even know if I need this. I'm gonna try something here. I'm gonna get rid of this. Get rid of this. Get rid of the target ability. Get rid of this. On execute, we're just gonna do execution count. Increment. We don't need this. And we don't need this. So the execution count provider just becomes a simple counter. And then I can update everything. So this execution count provider here, then, it's not going to listen for the damage ability. Instead, it's going to go after this. So the dynamic damage ability is going to go first. The execution count provider is going to tick up. And then that should work. Yeah, that should work. Okay, so now I need to figure out where that execution count provider was used. Execution count provider, damage bank. So I'm pretty sure now this just needs to go at the end, right? So it will be 0. Maybe I do need it to be first. Yeah, I think that's right, because of the way this every third turn works. I think that's good. Execution count provider, exhaustible ability. Right, and then this needs to go second. Okay, Iron Maiden. This execution count provider. This one goes here. I think that's right. Maybe I should put the execution count provider right after the thing that needs it. Okay, and then here, damage ability, execution count provider can go after that ability. Okay. And then road sign, execution count. That might actually be cleaner. Now, I do want to check something. So it's still going to be a problem in here, get total ability executions of type, but I think that's okay, because it's not actually dealing damage. The core problem was not that the ability was changing. The core problem was that it wasn't being counted as an execution when it should have been. So removing the specific ability tracking from this execution count provider and using this as just like a dummy ability that keeps a running total, I think that's actually a better approach. So that should fix my issue with basically no side effects. Knock on wood. Yeah, thanks. Thanks, Nick. Son of a bee, yeah. Son of a brisket. All right, let's see if this works now. So what should happen? So it has an enchant that converts all damage dealt to preserve. This damage should still increase every execution. And I should be able to see that updating in the tooltip live. So let's see what happens. So if I go here and I run this, this should deal 2 preserve, or have 2 preserve at first. And then it's going to say 3 damage. So it should deal 3 preserve now. Scarab applied 3 preserved, yeah. And then Scarab applied 4 preserve. Scarab applied 5 preserve. 6 preserve. Yeah, so that is working now. So that tracking is done. And then this is going to deal 7. So this is updated for the next one. Cool. There was one other one that I wanted to test here, this exhaustible ability. This is attached to, I believe, the Phoenix. Oh, I also want to test the damage bank. So let's do Mosquito Swarm and also Phoenix. Let's just get rid of these guys. Okay, so this apply 15 fire becomes exhausted. Oh, that's not working. That description is wrong. That's a relatively minor issue. There's an extra space there, though. Is there an extra space? It might just be the icon spacing. Well, I don't know. Let's see if this works, though. Hello, A the Ant. Welcome back. Good to see you. Always good to see you. All right, let's see what happens. 1, 2, and it exhausted. Sweet. So that works, and then we're going to test the Mosquito Swarm next. So let's do the Mosquito Swarm. This one is interesting because every third turn it should deal damage equal to the damage dealt by this card in the previous 2 executions. Let me look at that and see exactly how that's working. Simple Swarm Damage Bank. Here we go. Card damage dealt provider. Number previous get current turn history range. Get damage dealt by card. Okay, yeah, that's gonna work. So that's fine. Damage bank, cool. All right, so let's give this a shot. So this should deal 20 damage on the 3rd turn. Hello, Michael. Welcome. Good morning to you. How hard would it be to leave nodes you skip in place so you might go back when needed, such as skipping the obelisk? I don't think it would be... It wouldn't be hard. The question is, like, would it serve the gameplay purpose? Because originally what I wanted to do is have the player able to revisit areas of the map, but with the way like the movement economy works and the way you accrue notoriety, and the way that the bosses are set up, you almost like everything in the game is forcing the player northward, which was intentional, but I don't really see a way to make it feasible to revisit like older nodes on the map with that system currently in place. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I didn't really design the game, like the overworld map navigation from the ground up, to be such that you're supposed to just like explore the entirety of the map and backtrack and stuff. I've basically done the opposite, where backtracking is allowed. So in the case that you want to like go take a different path, you can do that. And there's even like an artifact that enables that. But for the most part, like, backtracking is not very helpful for the player. It's a situational thing where you might backtrack because you went up to get one node type, and then there's 2 other node types on a different branch of the path, so you have to go back to get to those. But yeah, like going far back to revisit an old node is not really supported at all. So yeah, I think it's just a game design thing. Hello, Evan. Happy development, and good morning, everyone. Good morning to you as well. Love the border animation you have on the mosquitoes. Thanks. Yeah, I like them too. That's the enchant effect. It's also on the phoenix. So interesting. Hello, Geoval. So the mosquito swarm, because it has this convert damage to preserve, it actually didn't do any damage, and so on the third turn, it didn't do any damage. So I actually need to remove that enchant that I've got here. Where is that? Here. Okay. Let's try it again. One. Oh no. I killed it too fast. This card is too strong. I'm just trying to see if this ability works. Dang it. Why is that? Why did I buff that card so much? It's making it real hard to test. Well, I guess if you get Mosquito Swarm early in the game, don't sleep on it. Here we go. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so Mosquito Swarm dealt 20 damage. So the way that the Mosquito Swarm works is on every third turn, it will add up the damage that it dealt for the previous 2 turns, and it will deal that much damage. So under normal circumstances, it should basically deal 20 damage on every third turn because it deals 10 damage otherwise. But I think that ability is interesting because if you add critical chance and critical multipliers to that card, then that would change the amount of damage that it does on the third turn potentially, right? So if you ended up critting for 20 on one of the first 2 turns, then you'll actually end up doing 30 damage on the third turn. That's kind of the point of that ability, is that you want to increase the chance that you deal extra damage on the previous 2 turns. But yeah, that is working. How do you determine the max HP of the enemy team is the HP tied to each card? No, the way that it works is that I've explained this before, but I come up with a difficulty score, which is just like a heuristic integer value that roughly assigns a score to a board, and then everything about the enemy board that is generated is based on that score. So the amount of health that the board has is based on the score. The cards on the board are based on the score. The size of the board is based on the score. And basically what that score is basically a singular number that is used to represent the difficulty of a board. So it's basically combining all those factors. How many cards are on the board, what's the board size, what's the health of a board, into a single measurable number. And then, yeah, that's basically how it works. The formula for determining that health is just completely made up. It was just I played with it until I got something that felt good. So you can see, like, for instance, I have this debug value here that says score 295. So a board with 295 is obviously going to be a lot more powerful than a score of 140, right? So this is 140. This is basically half of the score. And this one only has 31 health. But if I look at this one has 73 health. And the scores for each combat, they increase as the nodes go up to the north. So the farther you get into the map, the more difficult the enemy combats are. So like right there, I just lost. So with this mosquito swarm, I was just destroying everything. But I finally got to a combat where the enemy board's power is actually greater than my power, and I lost. Can that third turn also crit? It can, yes. Hello, Philosophe, welcome back. Good morning to you. You got carpal tunnel syndrome? I do not. I don't. If you're referring to my wrist brace, it's a preventative measure. It's not trying to fix any active problem. It's trying to prevent a problem. Okay. Anyway. So I think we can actually get to the goal of the stream now, which is to add some new enchantments. I think I fixed all those issues, so that's good. I do like that change. I think that just makes a lot more sense. So anyway, I'm going to take a quick 3-minute break, and when I come back, we're going to actually create some new enchantments. So yeah, give me 3 minutes. I'll be right back, and we will continue on. Hello, I'm back. Some of the last game development happening this year. Savor it. Yeah. We will never experience 2025 ever again in a couple of days, so something to think about. Welcome back, the Dollite, by the way. Hello, Clicker Tail. Sorry that I'm late. No need to apologize. Welcome. Good to see you. All right, so let's go ahead and create some new enchantments. So anyone have any enchantment ideas just right off the bat? So an enchantment, again, is just something that you can add on to a card. An enchantment could be anything. It could change a stat of the card. It could add an ability to the card. It could change how the abilities on a card work. It can do all that stuff. So the enchants that we currently have, I'm actually just trying to... What even am I doing? Is there any enchants nearby? Let's see. There are none. Here. So you go to the enchant, and then you get 3 options. You put a card on the board, and then these are the things that you can add. So this swarm basically adds the swarm ability to the card. Echo adds the echo ability to the card, and then converts all damage dealt to preserve adds that ability to the card as well. But there are things like turn cooldown reduction. We can do interesting things like increase poison damage dealt, increase fire applied. We can do all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's what we could do. Change the direction of projections may be complicated to implement and not that interesting. You know what, I was just thinking about that. It would be interesting if, like, I don't know how I'd word it, but basically any ability that relies on, like, adjacency, right? So, like, oh, adjacent minions or whatever. It would be interesting to have an enchantment that changes all of those to be, like, global. So if you had a card that scales based on only adjacent minions, you put an enchantment on it where now it scales off of any minion that's on the board. That would be really cool, really interesting, really powerful. And I think that would be... that would be something I would be interested in doing because I think that's really interesting. But yeah, from a technical standpoint, I would actually have to modify all of the query target providers somehow to do that. So let me think about how that would actually work. So if I use Iron Maiden, so I've got this query target provider here. This is what's used to get cards that match certain query filters. The problem is that if I do this query board with final filter, so the problem is I basically need some way to overwrite these query options here so that if a query options object, if it has this query directions enabled or set, I need to change this so that it's the entire board. But I have to be very, very careful with that because we've got other conditionals in here like self-query only and such, which I would not want to make global. So in order to do an enchant like that, I may have to... I may have to remove these individual implementations of iBoard queryable, maybe? Copy ability. Yeah, so the problem is the way I originally designed this, I have this iBoard queryable interface, and I was implementing this on individual abilities like here. However, I've since moved to using a specific query target provider class here, whose only job is to fetch cards that match whatever filters you've enabled. And I can move over to using that purely, and I should, and I want to move over to using that purely. I think that would have to be a necessary step before I did anything that modified any of the query options, the query parameters. Because if I move it all to one system where it's all using the query target provider, then I think it should be relatively straightforward to do some modification of the query options here in like a central location where it could be affected by an enchantment, for instance. However, I don't think I necessarily want to do that now. That's going to be kind of an involved refactor. I basically have to get rid of all of these situations where I'm using iBoard queryable. Yeah, I'm basically have to get rid of all those situations where I'm using that to make it work. And then there's also the question of, I'd have to change the board highlighting too. So like when you hover over a card, if it has an enchant on it, it needs to accurately show all of the cards that are being affected. So yeah. How about convert damage to any ailment stacks? Enchant buffs at odd number of turns, executability. I like the idea of converting damage to some kind of ailment or status stack. Enchant changes the adjacent required to everything on the board. Imp says yes, please. It would be a really interesting one, and I want to support that. I just think I need to... I probably need to do a larger refactor, although maybe I don't. Maybe I don't need to do that. Let's see. I may be able to finesse this a little bit. I may be able to finesse this. Let's try it out. I have mixed feelings about enchants in this game. I like the idea of enchants because it allows easy increases in power. On the other hand, enchants have historically made alchemy unneeded in my runs. Well, I did change a lot of the alchemy system, and I did change a lot of the how the cards work and stuff. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see if the enchants become more in line with everything. I think the last playtest had the enchantments are limited, right? Like you can only put, or an enchant of level, or enchant node of level 2 can only add up to 2 enchantments to a card, right? So I think I don't know, I think I've made a bunch of changes to make it a little bit, rein in the power a little bit more, but also make the alchemy more useful. So yeah, it'll definitely be something to look out for in the future. Maybe one solution is I could just make the enchantment less common on the map overall. Like that is a lever I can pull as well. So enchantment can still be very powerful, but if I make it less frequent, then it won't compete as much with the alchemy system. So I think there's ways to resolve that, but so I think I can do this. If executing ability is board queryable, then what I'm going to want to do here, I think, is change the board queryable query options. Oh, this is going to be not good, actually. I was just going to modify the query options here, but the problem is if I do it here, then it's going to permanently change it, and that would be not good. So I could do board queryable.query options.query directions is equal to board inventory component query directions.entire board. But that would change this permanently, that's the problem. So I need a way of like temporarily changing it. How would I do that? I mean, one way to do it would be to store the old query options, create a duplicate of it, and then reassign that query options after this is done executing. But yeah, that doesn't sound ideal either. Yeah, I mean, maybe that would be the way to do it. I don't know. I think I can probably do this. I can convert this to a record, I think. And then we could do like a public query options clone, and then we can just do return what? Can I do that? So if I return this with just nothing overridden, does that not work? Oh, members name clone or disallowed duplicate. So since it's a record, I should just be able to use the with keyword to basically duplicate it and not overwrite anything. So if I do, let's do query options. Query options. Let's do old query options. Let's go to board queryable. Well, equal null. Old query options is equal to this. Var new query options is equal to old query options dot duplicate. New query options. So I could do something like that, but then I need to reassign it back down here. So what I would do down here is I would do something like if board queryable is not equal to null and old query option is not equal to null. Use of unassigned local variable. Okay, well, we'll just do this then. Yeah, I mean, I don't really like this approach. Because then I have to, like, I'm reassigning something, so I'd have to do something probably a little bit more functional. Maybe change the query options to yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have to assign and unassign things anyway, because I don't really have a I don't really get the query options and then pass them along somewhere. I guess I kind of do. Queryable.query options here. What I could do is I could just change, let me think. I could change the code to pass around the query options instead of the queryable itself. And then I would just, whenever I want to get the default set of query options, I would just return a new query options object every time I called that get method. And then I could safely modify the query options however I want after that without changing the default behavior. But that would require a lot of reworking as well. I'm pretty sure. So wherever this is used, query board with final filter. Oops. Wherever this is used, no, that's not right. Yeah, maybe, maybe. I mean, I could just change this to a getter. I could do this. Or I guess it already is a getter. Yeah, so I could do, I don't know. I'd have to do something with this. Good afternoon, Jay Har. I did have a good Christmas. Thank you. I hope you did as well. Honestly, a lot of that power came from their big spawn enchant pool that resulted in easy access to Swarm Echo and reduced cooldown. Right, and I can change the weights of those ones too. The idea I was referring to yesterday was to create a system in which the protagonist is blind, but he sees the world when he touches the people around him. He's a little kid, so in this way, he's unable to live independently from the people around him. Also plan to create a specific shader that makes the world appear differently for each creature he touches. That is a very interesting idea. I think that's a pretty strong hook for a game. You play as like a blind child, and then you have to reveal the world through touch. That is a very, very strong hook in my opinion. So that's definitely cool. But again, what matters is the execution. All right, so I don't really want to do the refactoring that's required to get this to work right now. I do want to do this, but I need to take a careful look at all this stuff and make sure that I'm not doing it in a bad way. So I am going to write that down as an enchantment idea. Change all ability querying to global. That is a very interesting enchantment. I would love to do that. I think that would be like a build changing enchantment, but the code is not able to support that at the moment, and it's going to need some work. It's possible though. I see a path forward there. It's just, you know, anything that touches the query system then needs to be done very carefully, and then I need to test it very thoroughly because that's a very critical part of the game. So it's, yeah, it just needs to be done very carefully. But somebody else made a suggestion, convert damage to ailment stacks. I think that's a good idea, and I want to do that. I think that should actually be, will that be easy? I think so. I think so. Maybe not. I could be wrong. No, it should work. Let's do, what do I have here? Base enchant. Convert damage to shield enchant. Critical chance, critical multiplier, fire mischance, poison, enchant. So we could do something like this. We could do convert damage to bleed. Oh, I keep doing this wrong. Let's delete this. Ah, son of a biscuit. Okay. If ability magnitude is damage, we're going to do new bleed. So this is actually going to be basically the same. But I do want to do a multiplier here. So let's do const float multiplier is equal to 0.5. We're going to multiply by multiplier here, and then we're going to do mathf dot seal. Seal to int. Okay. Converts multiplier. Oh, do I not have that here? Oh, I probably need to put it up here then. Converts multiplier is damage dealt to bleed. So that's basically another conversion ability, but that's okay. I just realized I didn't change these. Oops. Poison. Yeah, that'll work. Swarm enchant. Turn cooldown. Okay, cool. This needs to have a period. Swarm can have a period, I suppose. Echo. Okay, I think that'll work. Convert damage to bleed enchant. Oh, and do I need to add these to the enchant configuration? I do. Oh, that's just the last one. Okay. So we can actually turn down Echo and Swarm some more. Anyway, let's see if that works. Run manager. Populate player cards. Card.add enchant. New convert damage to bleed enchant. Let's see what that does. I tried to remove the word easy from my vocab. Yeah. Card is immune to paralyze. Card is not counted towards enemy abilities. Oh, those are interesting ones. We can do immunity to paralyze because I already have that in the game. So let's try this though. All damage dealt is doubled, but this card cannot apply heal. That is a good one. So that's applying bleed now. Although that multiplier wasn't working, so I did this wrong. I did this completely. I didn't even do anything with the multiplier. Oh no, I did. No, I did. New bleed. Anyway, this is wrong. This needs to have 4 curly braces. Why did that not work? Is my multiplier damage to magnitude? I think... Does that not work? I probably should... I'm going to do this on a skeleton instead. It's going to be easier. It's going to be easier if we do this. Honestly, I should just do this too. We're going to generate some training dummies instead. I think this still works. It should. This will be easier to test. It applied 2 bleed. 2 bleed. Yeah, that's right. So I wonder why it wasn't working with the mosquito swarm. Let me check it. Oh, the mosquito swarm applies bleed naturally. Right, so that's why it's doing 10. I thought the 10 damage was being converted to 10 bleed, but no. It's dealing 5 bleed because it's 10 damage, and then it's also applying 5 bleed on top of that. So it's applying 10 bleed at a time. Okay. Increase the number of targets for each ability by 1. That would have to be a part of my rework of the query options, but that's a good idea too. Let me add that. Let me write that down. Increase number of ability targets by 1. Let's see. Card is immune to paralyze. Okay, anyway, I like this convert to bleed, so we're going to call that one good. Let's go ahead and commit that. Add convert damage to bleed enchant. Let's do card is immune to paralyze. That should be a relatively simple one. The nice thing about having all these systems built out is that it really is relatively easy to add new content, which is nice. Immunity. Let's do paralyze. Immunity enchant.cs. We're just going to go ahead and grab this, paste it here. Paralyze. Immunity enchant. Do I need that duplicate, really? Oh, this is wrong. Convert damage to bleed enchant. That would have been bad. Although, is this duplicate ever used? Where is this duplicate even used? Oh, in alchemy. Alchemy, right. Right. Okay. Paralyze immunity enchant. I think... paralysis immunity. Yeah, I already have a paralysis immunity, so we can just go ahead and do paralysis immunity equals, or paralysis immunity equals new. Paralysis immunity. Oh, do I need to add public get explanations? I need to add paralysis as an ability explanation here. Immunity. Probably need to do the same for exhaust as well. Yeah. Oh, I can just return. Wait, am I doing this wrong? Oh, it's already going to select the abilities. Oh, I see. Wait, do I even need to do this then? No, I don't need to do... What am I doing? What am I doing? Okay. Exhaust immunity, go away. Paralysis immunity, go away. I don't need to do that. Because this is already going to iterate over the arrays and get the explanations. So... buff immunity, get explanation. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. I was going off on a tangent that didn't need to be gone off on, so that's good. I can return paralysis immunity to get explanations here. That'll work. Cool. And then this can be immune to paralysis. All right, let's try that out. Enchant configuration, loot table, add item, paralyze immunity enchant, run manager, new paralyze immunity, enchant, training dummy, ability builder dot paralysis. I think I need to change the paralysis, how that works. Enchant, increase the sell value of this card. Oh, that's a great one. That's a great one, actually. Let's do that one, too. Okay. Immune to paralysis. Here we go. Let's try and see if the training dummy works. And it's working. Cool. So we've got the immunity to paralysis enchant now. So that's great. I'm just going to take all of Ninja Link's ideas and do them. This one is probably too strong, but enchant, all abilities are projected to X adjacent cards instead of being executed. That one would be very strong, I think. Increasing the sell value of the card is interesting. I wonder if I should do that one. Um, They'll label. Calculate sell price. Price per sell. Just trying to figure out how exactly I would do that. Let's see. I guess I could just do it in here. I guess I don't see a reason not to. Public int get modified sell price. Int current sell price. Get modified sell price. We're going to do for enchants modify sell price. Mathf.max 0 modified price. Okay. So now I can go to my base enchant here. Public virtual int modify sell price. Int current sell price. Return current sell price. Then we do a new enchant. Increase sell price enchant. I could see this being very fun because if you got multiple modify sell price enchants and put them all on one card and then sold it all at once, it'd be kind of interesting. But I guess I don't really know why you would stack them. You could just enchant and then sell. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there'll be a card ability that scales off of the sell price of the card or something. That would be interesting. But anyway. Just copy this. Increased sell price enchant. Get description. Increases sell price by 10. We don't need this. We don't need that. Public override void int modify sell price. Return private const int sell price increase 10. Sell price increase, sell price increase. Okay. And then in this base card here, that will just do that. Iterate over all the enchants and sell that. And then in my calculate sell price, that's just used for all the card sell price calculations. So in here, what I can do is I can do return base card dot get modified sell price. Base card sell count. And that's it. So now I should be able to see that that works. Let's also do the enchant configuration here. Loot table.add item increase sell price enchant. Let's make that relatively rare. And then what we'll do is we will go to the run manager here and we'll do new increased sell price enchant. And we'll see what happens. Enchant double the duration of paralyze effects. That would be a good one. That would be a good one. Write that down. I think Ninja Link is the game developer now. I'm just... No, these are great suggestions. Thank you. Increase duration of paralyze effects. I really do appreciate the brainstorming, because not only does it give me ideas to implement in the game, but when you put your ideas in the chat, a lot of times it will trigger a different idea in my head as well. So that's great. Sells for 14, sells for 16. Look at that. Boom. Awesome. So make that one relatively rare. Just a thought you might have already thought of. If you have enchants that are only relevant once, immune to something, then you could filter it from future enchant pools. Well, the problem is that you could put it on multiple cards, right? So, like, yeah, putting immunity to paralysis twice on the same card would be like a foot gun moment for the player. But you can still put it on a different card. You can make multiple cards immune to paralysis. The other problem with removing things from the pools during the game is that that will break the seeding of the run, right? So the idea is that I want players to be able to share seeds with each other if they get a particularly good map layout or a particularly good run going. And every node on the map should have the same options that belong to that seed. And if you can do something in the game that changes one of those loot tables, that is it's gonna break the seed for at least one node, right? Or it could break the seed for 0 to n nodes, I guess you could say. So in other words, if I go to an early enchant and I put immunity to paralysis on my card, and then I removed that from the pool from all of the other ones, then that means that two players could potentially have different experiences of the same seed, because I'm changing the pool for one player and not changing the pool for another player, right? So I think what I'll do instead is I'll just say, hey, I'm gonna allow the player to foot gun themselves if they put two enchants that don't do anything together on the same card. That's the player's fault. And I think that's fine. I think that's actually fine, because I actually do think that letting the player fail in those ways is a good aspect of roguelites. I like when roguelikes are like a sandbox and you can create your own builds and stuff. And yeah, it's possible to brick your build. It's possible to put an enchantment on an item that doesn't scale at all with the item that you put it on. I think that's totally fine, because it, you know, it's a little bit more engaging to have to pay careful attention to how you're upgrading things. And so, yeah, I think allowing the player a certain level of foot gun moments is actually good for these types of games. Scope of this game is getting pretty big and never cease to be amazed by the progress. Thank you, Monkey Software. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think the scope is pretty much done growing at this point. It's just a matter of adding more content. And I guess content does contribute to scope, but when I think of scope, I think of like core feature sets more so than content. Because content is just like padding out the existing feature set, right? But there is a lot going on in the game for sure. When this card becomes exhausted, exhaust one enemy card as well. Okay, that's a good one. Okay, so we did an immunity to paralyze. We did increase cell value. I do like that one. I do like that one. All right. Okay, so I think I've got a meeting that I need to get to here in just like 20 minutes or so. So I'm going to end the stream there. But yeah, I'm glad that we got a lot of those enchants done. I do want to do these other enchants, but I have to rework. I have to rework the querying system. Which maybe, I don't know, should I do that for this playtest? Maybe I should. Rework querying system to support modification of query options without changing defaults. This is to support enchantments that can modify query target provider. Yeah, I think we're going to want to do something like that. Anyway, that's it for the stream today. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you for being here. Again, you can wishlist Alka Mortis on Steam. That would help me out a lot. You can also check out my Patreon if you want to support me there. My Udemy courses are linked in the description below, and you'll also find links for the Discord and other things there. So definitely check that out. Thanks again, everyone, for being here. Thanks for your support. Very much appreciate it. And I will hopefully see you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. I may have to start the stream a little bit early tomorrow because I also have to go somewhere at like noon. So I still want to do a stream tomorrow, but it might just be a little bit earlier than usual. Anyway, have a good day, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.